So let's talk about what happens with the saints back in Thompson, Ohio, who are trying to live the United Order. You guys might remember Leman Copley. He was a Shaker, converts to the gospel, and he gets sent on a mission, Section 49.
Section 49, send him up.
Go back. And at this point, he's given his land to the church, at least in word. He hadn't actually ever signed the contract. 759 acres, and all these saints, the Newell Knight group, comes living on his land. They're improving it. They're planting, building fences. And Leman Copley basically fails as a missionary among the Shakers. Nobody's converted, okay? So outwardly, it might look like he's a failure. And so when he returns, he's already questioning again, like, have I made the right choice to be a member of the church? And it's interesting, some reports are that when he returns back to his farm, the saints there, the Colesville saints, actually criticize him and say negative things about him as a missionary, that, well, you obviously were a failure because no Shakers were converted. And this may have also contributed to him saying, I'm done. And he gets a little crazy. He breaks his covenant that he had covenanted with God and the church to let people make use of the land. He says, nope, you guys are all off my land. Oh, and I'm charging you rent.
And they had to pay $60.
Which is a lot of money in that time.
Which is a lot of money.
And this is after they'd spent quite a bit of time planting and building and making fences and improving the land. And so we get some interesting things here. If you look at verse 3, and this is actually speaking to the Colesville saints on the Copley property. And if your brethren desire to escape their enemies, let them repent of all their sins and become truly humble before me and contrite. So Newell Knight, who's the leader of the group, has been seeing there's problems, goes to Joseph Smith and say, how do we handle this issue? And one of the things God says is, well, you guys need to repent of not actually being humble. It may be that they were being mean to Leman Copley, okay?
And other ways where the universal sin, according to President Benson, C.S. Lewis, others have talked about this, is pride. That it wouldn't just be in the way they're treating Leman Copley, it would be the way they're treating each other, the way they're treating others, and perhaps they're saying, we deserve better than this, and he's saying, no, you need to become humble before me and contrite.
What's also interesting is we were talking about this before, is what does God say to Leman Copley, who had consecrated, covenanted to share? So let's take a look at what God now says about Leman Copley, verses 4 and 5. And as a covenant which they made unto me has been broken, and so it's become void and of none effect. Who broke that covenant?
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Here's this nutshell definition. I'll be your God. You're going to be my people. We've talked about this before. God never breaks his covenant. He is steadfast, sure, unmovable. He's always there. And he makes these promises. And Leman Copley is the one who breaks the covenant, which makes this agreement, what? Null and void.
And God says about Leman Copley, verse 5, woe to him, Leman Copley, by whom this offense cometh, for it had been better for him that he had been drowned in the depths of the sea. That's a really nice thought.
Pretty powerful consequence.
But he goes on and says in verse 6, but blessed are they who have kept the covenant and observed the commandment, for they shall obtain mercy.
Isn't it interesting, by the way, that what is it that Leman Copley was focused on? In this case, it's this land and it's the possessions. And he hears things are going to be moving west. We're going to be starting over on the frontier. And it makes you wonder if part of him was saying, no, I've got 759 acres. He is so interested in the land, in the soil, in the farm, in the fences and the fields and the dirt, it seems, that there were probably a series of events that triggered this downward direction to cause him to break the covenant. Here's the key lesson for me, at least, as I look at our own world today in the 21st century, not just the world of 1831 in Thompson, Ohio. God has given us certain covenantal agreements from his perspective, and I have my agency. I get to choose what I do with that. If I choose to come over here and make anything else my God, whether it be money, whether it be power, or prestige, whether it be land, whether it be a number of possessions in any form, whatever they may be, brothers and sisters, those can give me a feeling of great pleasure, a feeling of great power for a season. Here's the grand irony. The land that Leman Copley owned and would yet acquire, he becomes has a very large holding of land by the time he's going to die, many years later. All of that land, it's still in Ohio. You can go visit it today. You can walk on it. You can pick up the dirt that he owned. And that dirt is not a very good God. It's not a very merciful God. There's no safety in chasing any other thing in this life to fill the place in your heart that can only be filled by one person, by God. He is merciful to us, and He can help us when all of the prestige, all the money, all the land, all the whatever it is that we've sought after passes on to other people. His love and His mercy won't decay. It won't pass on. It will remain with us forever. And so as we move forward in time in this historical setting, let's not forget the need for us in the 21st century to realize, oh, wait, it's really easy for me to point a finger of scorn at Leman Copley and say, you dummy, what were you thinking? It's not this complicated, when in fact, you realize that when you point a finger of accusation or scorn at somebody, you've actually got three pointing back at you. And the scriptures can become very reflective at that moment and say, seriously? Really, Tyler? You're going to be the ultimate judge of Leman Copley and how dumb he was to break this covenant? What about the things that you're allowing your heart and mind to become attached to? Anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what the cause is if it's not God. It's not going to save me. It's not going to treat me like a God can treat me and preserve me and redeem me and bring me eternal joy.